Here's a question.
Okay.
What happened last night? We beefed. Are you gaslighting yourself? I feel like I did something that made you sad.
Is that codependent?
Let us know in the comments. I wrote a song during that period. I was like, I just need a place to rest my heart. And I have that now.
Hello, welcome back to what we're temporarily calling After Hours.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
I feel like if we do this from time to time, we have to find like a permanent name for this. But I feel like After Hours is fitting because it's nighttime, date night, late night.
Mm-hmm. It's 2 a.m. on a Monday.
Oh my gosh, I'd be so dead. I'd be actually incoherent.
It is 8 p.m.
It is 8 p.m., which is still late, TBH.
It's really late.
Why are we here? What are we doing?
There's a lot of reasons. I think the biggest one is we both just want to do it.
Yeah.
It feels good.
To be so for real, this is something you've really, really, really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I've been interested in, but apprehensive about. And this isn't right now what we're recording right now. This is not an actual podcast. This is for my YouTube channel, but we're like dipping our toe in to see how we feel about it. I feel like I should call out in the beginning, Jordy has a cut in his eye. Poor guy. So if he looks like he's like crying or twitching, there's an actual cut in his eye. A podcast is something you've really wanted to do. And we have done a few trial podcast episodes within the last year.
I really just wanted to make something with you.
Yes. And I really want to make something with you too.
And a podcast is like, oh, well, we both can talk. Yeah, let's make that.
It feels like a way to connect, which is nice. I was always apprehensive about even, really considering it because in some ways I'm like, well, this is our marriage. I don't want to share too much of something so sacred and special to me with just whoever because it's for us. And also you hear about people working together in their marriage and it becoming like a stressor or whatever. But I had a lot of fun doing those first couple videos back. I felt like I could access a new part of me that I normally don't get to access on the internet. And the tipping point for me was the conversations that you had on tour. And I had a couple as well of people that came up in real life and said that those conversations impacted them way more than like a normal one of my YouTube videos. That felt important. And then I also found myself looking forward to this. And I told you actually just now at dinner that I feel like my new litmus test for the content I create is I want to pursue the things that I feel like actually genuinely excited about. Because I think you can feel that as an audience member too. If somebody's doing something because they think they should, it doesn't feel as good watching it versus when somebody's doing something because they're like, oh, I'm stoked about this. And like, I'm actually looking forward to creating this. There's a different undertone to it.
I don't think like creativity was one of the love languages identified in the love language book.
Yeah.
But I think they're wrong about that because like creating together is a love language of mine big time.
That's so true. It might even be subcategory quality time.
Yeah, it's more than that. It's like to make art, you have to share part of yourself and you have to sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have to work for something. And so doing that alongside my best friend feels really good. Yeah.
That made me blush.
Like we bring more out of each other than we do on our own. And so it's to me, I feel like, oh, we can maybe be more vulnerable and create better stuff together by doing it together. And that feels really exciting to me.
The reason why I am excited about this format is it is just kind of like conversational. We might totally go off the rails and this might not be what we talk about for the majority of the time. But you just wanted to talk about our whole first year of marriage. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. Then literally we got home from our anniversary trip at like 10 p.m. You unpacked your luggage, did your laundry, repacked your luggage, flew away at 4 a.m. the next day. You've been on tour for almost a month. You got home last night.
Right.
So just reflecting on our first year of marriage, how it changed us, maybe the good, the bad, the ugly, like the challenges we've had, how we've grown, the things that have been really sweet that we're really proud of and the things we want to do better at. And just maybe also navigating marriage when we each come with our own habits and potentially our own trauma, I know is like a really big thing that we navigate. So a lot we could dive into here. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned from our first year of marriage and the biggest surprise from our first year of marriage?
Basically, my life before I met you was like 10 years of really hard work trying to make a career happen and trying to make art.
Yes.
There were a lot of things in my life that choices that I made and things that happened to me that like generally made me like closed off and guarded. And I kind of developed like my personality was like was holding a mean mug the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious because that's not who I know you to be at all.
Right.
I know you to be a highly empathetic, emotional, Enneagram 4, silly, goofy, laugh until you have an actual asthma attack kind of guy.
Right.
Not a mean mugging kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, you know me as that now because I think being with you has like changed a lot of that. What I think it did to me and what I think COVID did to me, like the isolation of that and just like the isolation of COVID and like removing myself from like this community of musicians in Nashville that I like had lived life with in my early 20s, being in a really tough relationship, living in a van. I had a few like physically traumatic things that happened that like really completely changed my personality and kind of contributed to that like mean bug determination.
You became a little jaded.
Yeah. Jaded and just like
on guard, perhaps.
Yeah. On guard times 1 billion.
Yeah.
I still sometimes get easily triggered into fight or flight. That's like diminishing, but there was a period of time where if I like heard a noise, I would like tense up and be ready to do something. It's not good. There was one tour where I like was having panic attacks pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Just because I couldn't comprehend that people knew who I was that I didn't know, and they knew things about me, and a lot of it they wanted to talk to me about like really big, heavy, like spiritual things.
Because at the time your songs were that you were known for were like very heavy,
very topical. Yes. Yeah, that was all really intense. And so I developed I have a lot of walls against people that I didn't know that knew my music. Being married to you has just like, I've just gradually seen those guards come down kind of one by one. Gradually, I think you just like being like very sweet and very loving and very accepting and just generally kind to me and reinforcing that like in my everyday me being myself, I can't mess this up because I know that you like love me and are there for me and support me, and so I think that has been a really huge thing for me in my life. So I've like seen those defenses come down to the point where now I do like a Q&A at shows and people like literally there were so many people on this last tour that were like, wow, that was the best show I've ever seen because you were so personable. You were talking to the fans. And then even like my keyboard player, Jake, was like, yeah, it's really cool to watch you at shows because you genuinely care about the people that come to your shows. And I think that also because I feel safe enough to like be myself. And I know it's like, these people can't take anything from me because I have everything I need here. So I'm not afraid of them in any way.
You have actually changed physically in the pictures you take with people.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm
fascinating.
Way more open and way more like, and I think I also see
yourself. You're much more yourself. You were kind of putting on not a caricature, but definitely like a mask.
An armor.
Yes, an armor.
That's the biggest change that I have noticed in myself, apart from our relationship, just like me looking at myself as a person. I'm like
that's a byproduct.
That's like, oh, that's way different.
What's the biggest surprise from our first year of marriage for you?
Well, the biggest surprise is that you exist at all, that the most wonderful girl in the whole world exists, and that girl wants to like hang out with me consistently is the biggest surprise.
This girl loves you deeply.
I know.
This girl comes with baggage, though.
It's fine. I know. It's fine.
So it's not all sunshines and rainbows.
I was fully aware, maybe more aware than you were.
Yeah, I definitely was delulu and thought, no, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, but that is not the surprise, by the way. Just to let you know, I'm not surprised by that. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's par for the course.
You basically said that to me last night where I had some sort of a reaction to something, and you said, I'm just letting you know, like, it's okay. I signed up knowing that you were a girl that had a story and that you would have feelings sometimes that were brought up. Here's
a question.
Okay.
What happened last night? We beefed.
What did happen last night?
And we were beefing a little bit today-ish. We're still like settling back in.
We're saying that we're calibrating after being apart for a whole month. I think what happened
What happened What's your side of the story?
I was so, 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 so excited to pick you up from the airport. And you also were so kind and agreed to going with me to one spot for a campaign. I needed to film something for a campaign late night. You were flying in at 9:30 p.m. So like 10:30.
Need to get little cute shots of us at a cute place.
Yes. I pick you up from the airport and I realized the spot I had chosen was 20 minutes the wrong way. And you were on you've been on East Coast time for a month. So in your internal clock, it's like 1:30 a.m.
Right. Super tired.
Super tired. But you were down to rally and you were really excited to see me. So you're really excited to me felt like you were kind of like a little bit manic.
Well, I was manic. I saw my hot wife. I went manic.
Yeah, you went a little bit manic.
I was pumped, dude.
While I was trying to figure out a new plan for us that made more sense en route home. But you also know I love to be passenger princess. So you took over driving.
I did.
But while I was in the passenger
But I was so excited to be with my wife that I was driving fast. And I was like, this is sick. Wow, she's hot.
You were speeding, which stressed me out while I was still trying to figure out where we should even go. And every spot I looked up had already closed at 9:30 p.m., which was crazy.
Yeah. And you in work mode, you're a hustler.
Me in work mode, I'm a different person. I'm not present. I'm like, I have a job and I have to get it done. And after I get it done, I'll be fine. So I think
you're, as we say, a hustler. You're a professional. You get the job done.
Yeah, thank you. And so I just started to get like pretty high cortisol from that moment of being like, where are we even going right now? You're going so fast. And then feeling sad of I've been waiting for this moment for a month and here I am ruining it for myself by being stressed about a work thing at 9:30 p.m. on a Sunday. That's what I remember from last night.
Yeah.
But then I think I felt sad that I ruined the excitement of seeing each other was like what I got sad about later.
Are you gaslighting yourself? I feel like I did something that made you sad.
Oh, you just wanted to go to bed when we got home.
I was tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quickly going to sleep. Yeah. So as we got home, I was like, yeah. No, I love you. And then I think
something about that made me feel a little
like,
bit triggered from my past of feeling unwanted, which was not accurate for the moment, but definitely brought up this like, I ruined this excitement for you to see me, and now you're tired. So my brain is thinking that you're not excited to see me or be with me. So I think I'm unwanted. And when I'm unwanted, I'm unloved. When I'm unloved, you're going to leave me. When you leave me, spiral.
Yeah. Part of my side of the story is I did feel like you were not excited to see me.
Because I was in work mode.
Because you were in work mode. Yeah. And honestly, when both of us are in work mode, it's like, boom, we're getting it done. And yeah, it's tough.
I was in work mode when you were excited and you were in sleep mode when I was excited.
Yeah. So we bummed ourselves out.
Is that codependent?
Let us know in the comments. I think that's like, it's kind of normal. You know what I mean?
Do you know what's weird?
Okay, tell me what's weird.
Is I have such a fear, and I talked about this kind of in a vlog chat recently. I have such a fear of being codependent, which is what I would assume is so opposite from my last relationship. But I don't know. Maybe I was codependent in my last relationship in a very different way.
Right.
But I was just so independent. Like I just did everything by myself, for that. Now I feel like I've swung in the opposite direction, and I love you so deeply and rely on you so much that I'm afraid of becoming codependent. Maybe it's just a buzzword that we hear a lot, which is why I'm always like, oh, I can't be codependent. Do you feel like that has played into any positive or negative things that I've brought into our dynamic in marriage?
I think that we both have a hint of the codependency of making sure the other person is okay.
Yes, I will say this is actually something I want to go through questions later because we asked for questions on Instagram, but somebody said something along the lines of, how do I not freak out when my husband is in like the slightest bad mood? Because as soon as he like has a sliver of being in a bad mood, I immediately assume it's my fault.
We can't help that person. We're the wrong people to ask. We do that all the time.
We do that. We do that. I'm like, if you
did that at dinner 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, literally. You had a cut in your eye. And I just gotten home from a month of tour. And I was like, because you have a cut in your eye and you feel like you have missed home and are tired, I must have done something wrong, which is so not logical. But that's how my brain works. And I do fear I need to work on that.
First off, I shall point out you've been taking every like disagreement that we've had together and blaming yourself entirely for it.
Yeah, that's how I live my freaking life,
And
dude.
that is not living in reality, because I'm also a person that like messes things up and gets tired and grumpy.
Well, do you know what I hate though? When people complain about something or bring a problem to the table and take zero accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. And so then I swing to the opposite side of the
And
spectrum.
take 100% of accountability.
Yes, because I also think I believe in my mind that if I take accountability and can figure out what is wrong, then I have the sole power to fix it and to make it better. And that's all I want to do. But I also don't want to be a person that is like unaware of their own flaws and just plays victim and blames everybody else.
But you're so far from doing that. You will never ever do anything like that ever. And that's just the truth.
I don't know.
I do.
I don't know.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were we even talking about?
To set the record straight, I think we had equal parts in us beefing last night. And then maybe
I don't even think beefing was the word. I think I just got
beefing to me feels
a little
like
sad.
Yeah. We have a little bit of back and forth. There's a little bit of like there's misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding feels right.
Misunderstanding, and then getting sad and slightly angry at the other person because of misunderstanding.
I felt no anger, for the record. I did feel some sadness.
Yeah.
What do you think are like the pros and cons that you've noticed from us
of
marriage,
periodically being long distance,
being long distance, or like things that we could work on when we go apart versus come together, versus things that like we could work on when we're together all the time, and maybe potentially taking each other for granted, or who even knows what. You hear distance makes the heart grow fonder. You hear so many different things. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on.
Yeah, I think in general, it is not a bad thing to spend a little bit of time apart in a marriage.
Yeah.
It's like there's something exciting about like, a little bit of independence when we're usually like
change of pace is exciting for a bit.
Yeah, for a bit, for 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
Honestly, for 2 days. But I genuinely feel like in my work, I would be really excited to go on tour, do 5 shows a month, every month, and just like go out for a little bit, because then it would be really fresh. And then I think also like what we do is so like anybody who like uploads things to the internet in any capacity, you lose sight of the real connection and impact that you're making on people's lives.
Oh, hugely. That's why it was so life-changing for me to come along to some of your shows.
Yeah. And that's honestly why I tour, because that's so exciting. It's so purposeful.
It recenters you.
And feels amazing to like play the songs that I've worked hard on for the people that like I can tell really enjoy them. Or I'll play a song, like I could play a song and people will cry because they really valued the lyrics. And that is oh man, I'm really glad that I traveled to Cleveland to do this, And I'm a very small artist. I'm playing to 100 people.
Right.
But like there were a lot of shows where I played and it was like, oh wow, this is really helpful to these people.
Yeah.
And I'm a bigger part of their lives than I thought. And then that gives so much more purpose to my work, writing songs during the day, recording whatever, because I'm like, oh, I remember that kid's face when I played that song. That's who I'm doing this for. I need to work hard on this. And I saw that in you whenever you met. There were a lot of sweet girls that came up to you, and also I have letters for you. But I'm going to forget. So you're going to like ask me
I'll remember.
Okay. I'm going to hold the finger, but I'm going to forget about the finger. But I made such a big deal about that you're going to remember. My ADHD meds are wearing off.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
I love you. We're solutions oriented. I do think it was like I have such a sense of home with you. And in this place, I haven't lived in one spot. I didn't live in one spot for a very long time. And my home was on the road wherever I was with whoever I was with. And that got really like sad and lonely and painful and exhausting. Like I wrote a song during that period. I was like, I just need a place to rest my heart. And I have that now. And so being away from that for 3 weeks was like, I'm losing that sense of home that I have with you. There are some upsides of being gone every once in a while, and then being gone too long. Your home and who you are with, who you choose to live your days with, becomes who you are. The guy who opened for John Foreman said, what's the quote? I'm going to look it up. John, who I played shows with, has a song called Side by Side. Oh, this song is just about exactly what we've been talking about. Look at him go. The
Okay.
best me is unafraid when I'm deeply aware of the love of the maker that made me. And the best you is honest when I finally start to believe the promise you promised. Maybe somewhere deep inside, under the fake me, underneath my pride, is more than a daydream where I finally find the missing piece I've been looking for. Where you and I, different as snowflakes, side by side, start to melt into something. You and I will find the ocean we come from. How we spend our time is how we spend our lives, is who we become, is how we spend our time.
Ooh.
Oh, he's so good at songs. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's really good.
Give me 3 descriptors of the new Moko that you are becoming.
More honest. I'm not afraid to actually say what I think and to, stand up.
Yeah.
And maybe pick a fight occasionally.
Yeah. And share your feelings.
Share my feelings, even if they're messy. More present and more healthy overall, physically, mentally, emotionally, taking quiet time, and I'm
making time for yourself.
Yeah. So probably those 3 things are the biggest changes I've seen. I do think so much of that has stemmed from you. Also for me, just being absolutely fed up with being unhealthy.
Yeah.
Honestly, you changed my brain when you wrote the song Worst Case Scenario. You wrote that song for me when I was like so anxious. I was so anxious about losing everything. Worst case scenario will be servers on your street.
That's right.
You'll work at Angelo's Burritos.
Delicious.
I'll work at Captain Helm's Coffee.
Come on.
And I think being able to see the reality through that song of that this more simplistic life would actually still be so full of love. And that is what makes a good life versus not. It's not about buying a house. It's not about
succeeding,
making money. It's not, and I don't want to seem like out of touch privilege. Obviously there are like financial burdens with having fear of being able to pay your bills and pay your rent and buy your groceries. But I think that you painted this picture for me to where I felt confident that by working at these spots and living in that apartment, we could pay our rent.
It would be hard work, but we would do it.
I think that was a perspective shift for me that like genuinely changed my brain.
Yeah. All this to say, I've really, really loved our first year of marriage, and it has changed me forever.
It's changed me a lot too. Should we look at Instagram?
Yeah. How did you trust again? It's been 7 years since my marriage ended, and I'm still terrified.
Trusting is like jumping out of a plane. You don't do it without a parachute, but there still is risk. And so I made sure my parachute felt like it was safe by looking at facts of who you are, who I am, who the people around you say you are, who the people around me say I am, and how our dynamic is together, and how yet again, loved ones comment on our dynamic. And that feels like the parachute. It doesn't guarantee you're going to land safely. It could rip. You could die.
Yeah.
But
or it could rip and you could live.
I think my loved ones saw me get so hurt before you that they finally felt the confidence to be honest with me.
Yeah.
And so I could actually trust them, and I actually wanted to go to them for their true opinions of you and of me and of us before I felt like, okay, I think I can believe them, which gives me trust in myself, which leads me to say, I'm going to trust. I'm going to jump out of this plane. I'm going to trust that this parachute's going to get me to the ground.
Here's one maybe for me. Jordy's thoughts on being the second husband. I'm the second wife to my husband. Many thoughts. That was worded really well.
Many thoughts.
I am proud of you for sending that.
Yeah, I am curious. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to read that again. Jordy's thoughts on being the second husband. I'm the second wife to my husband. Many thoughts.
What are your thoughts on being the second husband? Do you feel any like jealousy of I didn't get to do that? I didn't get to be like, you didn't get to walk down the aisle for the first time to me. You didn't any of that?
I think I was actually kind of relieved. I remember telling you that because I was like, oh, you've walked down this road before. You know how it can go. After spending time with you, getting to know your friends was a big part of it. Getting to know your family is a big part of it. And like learning more about your story. I was like, I don't think that these were her actions that led to this divorce. Just seeing how you handled all that made me go like, oh, if she handles our marriage half as well as she handled this divorce, we're going to be great. I don't have any jealousy at all. And I think part of that is just because I'm just like just generally an overly confident person.
Yeah. And also I have like
Some might say arrogant. I would say that, and you would.
Yes, you can leave.
I have some arrogance. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm awesome. Second husband, yeah, the best one. Yeah, dude, this is gonna be great.
First is the worst, second is the best.
Yeah. There's a few questions about intimacy, which is what the sweet Christians are calling it, and other people are like, what about sex? And I think it's really important to talk about because there are a lot of Christian folk watching.
Yeah.
And I think the church has done a pretty poor job of like talking about sex.
Yeah. It feels like such a bad thing. Yeah. It's so weird. I mean, we talk about this a lot in purity culture, how it's like sex, bad, sex, bad. Get married, get from God.
Yeah.
And it's like switching your mentality. Mm-hmm. So many people like just freeze because they're like, my whole life I've been told this is a sin.
Right.
And now it's a gift.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So here's the question: navigating intimacy. There's a lot of questions. How is it like? What's the sex like in marriage? Specifically from the wife's side, finding what you like.
Oh.
Which I think is an important thing to talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
and like, so maybe
what's a more specific question?
How do you make sex good in marriage? How can it go wrong and how does it go right?
I think it can go wrong when I feel like women are often afraid to voice what they do like and end up falling into a trap of just accepting what they get and saying,
right. Okay. And maybe not even understanding that they're supposed to enjoy it.
Yeah. So I feel like, honestly, if you're like going to get married soon and this is all new to you, from the start, being super vocal about, hey, this is a joint thing. We're going to figure this out together. What both of us like, me and you, because it can be different for each person. And I'm not just going to pretend like it's all about you and everything's fine for me, because I also deserve to enjoy this. And so if you almost like, I don't want to say gamify it.
Just try. Just try your best to make the other person feel awesome. Yeah. And then it's going to go really well. Yeah. And I do think that like sex doesn't go well in a million different ways if both people aren't trying to make the other person feel awesome. True.
That's a good point. Selfless is probably what, on general, stereotypically, men could keep in mind more. And honest, in general, stereotypically, is what women can keep in mind more.
I'm learning how to be a good husband, but I think about it a lot. And I try a lot.
You have a lot of good mentors.
I do. All the good marriages that I've seen, the husband is the servant. Yeah. Because literally the definition of a husband is to help something grow, is like a gardener.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. To husband something means to be very attentive every day and nurture and help something grow. It does not mean to be in charge. It does not mean to call the shots and be the king and have everyone serve you. It means make yourself the least important person on the totem pole for the sake of your family.
That's really beautiful. And I feel really lucky that you believe that.
I think it's important because I think there are messages of other people like Andrew Tate doing podcasts in today's society saying,
who's that?
The worst guy on the planet that thinks that women are property.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even heard of this man.
You don't ever need to hear if that's this guy. But there's a lot of young men that think he's awesome. And they think like that guy that made a TikTok saying, your body, my choice.
Ooh, what?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm not on this side of TikTok, podcast, whatever.
I think that is an example of a boy. And a servant is an example of a man.
I like that.
And I think that is how you make any relationship work well, is to be the servant. And I think especially that's how you make sex work well, is to be the servant. And if two people are doing that, date nights are going to go great. Arguments are going to go great. Financial planning is going to go great. Sex is going to go great. Like that really is the key. I feel like that I found, because every time I don't do that, it gets worse. And every time I choose to be the servant, this gets better.
I like that.
Yeah.
I am glad, I will say, as a sidebar, I am glad that we were forced to build our relationship on long distance. And maybe in the future we can do a dating podcast, because we didn't touch on that at all. But I am so glad that we were long distance for the first, 2 years of our relationship? Yeah. Because the only way we could connect was talking on the phone. I mean, everything else fades. Like physical attraction, I'm sure fades. Like Intimacy, I'm sure when you're 90, I just assume probably you're not having as much
Sure,
sex.
I don't know, but I got to wait to see you. Sorry.
And like, admiring someone for their career, that goes away one day. We all retire. Everything goes away except for conversation.
Spending time.
Being good friends who like to talk. That is the thing that what I assume, I don't know, I'm not 95 yet, but I assume when you're 95 that is like the pillar that remains. And so I'm really glad that we were kind of forced to build our foundation on that, because I think that will be the thing that stands the longest.
Yeah.
And I'm glad.
Okay. I love you.
I love you.
Happy 1 year.
Happy 1 year. Thanks for joining us for this long date night, late night, after hours conversation. Date night, late night.
Saturday night.
We love y'all. We hope you have the best rest of your day. We'll see you in another video very soon. Bye.